Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of What Makes This Game Awesome. Today's game drew loads of people in with its really cool art style and promises of unique and interesting gameplay. I'm here to explain where this game succeeded, and unfortunately where it didn't. So today I'm going to be talking about Between Me and the Night, and what makes this game alright. So right off the bat, as a bit of a disclaimer, I'd like to say that this game is not perfect by any means, and I really can't recommend buying it. So if you were thinking about buying it before you watched the review, I wouldn't recommend it. However, if you do really want to play it, then I'd recommend playing it before you watch the review, because I'm going to be spoiling this game throughout the entire thing, so just keep that in mind. True to all of the art and trailers of the game, one of the game's strongest points is its atmosphere. Throughout the whole game, I was always blown away by the beautiful low-poly 2D graphics and how they were able to make even fairly plain environments look really interesting. As for the actual environments, the game does several varied environments which are pretty well designed, feel quite realistic when they're supposed to, and even manage to blend our character's dreams and memories with his reality. This game is based around this character, who quite literally has no name anywhere, and how life changes for him as he grows up. This game is a variation on the genre of point-and-click adventure games, and has a large emphasis on puzzle solving in the bizarre, dreamy nightmare world that you live in, and escaping reality through the video game Generic Night. However, here's one of the game's first major problems that causes a lot of frustration for lots of people, including me. I played through this whole thing, it took me so long. Remember in older adventure games where you'd click around on everything until you actually found something that worked, and then you'd try combining it with everything else until you could actually find a combination that worked? This was often a side effect of a bad game design, and for the most part, Between Me and the Night manages to avoid this. They create a problem in a very different way. This game lets you pick up everything. Books, pictures, presents, fruit, you name it. This game lets you add nearly everything decently sized to your inventory. This is a very odd choice in my opinion, because while it may be more realistic, realism isn't always good game design. Having the ability to pick up so many items but only being able to hold 6 means you'll end up dropping potentially important items randomly around the environment to make room for other items. And then you'll forget where they are and spend like an hour and a half trying to find them. I'm totally not speaking from personal experience here. There's no actual way to tell if an item is or ever will be useful, so you can end up taking up inventory slots with crap that remains useless throughout the entire game. For example, here I picked up a love letter, but this has literally no use and can end up taking up precious inventory space. The game has optional objectives that grant achievements, like building a fort with some knights or filling in a poster with stickers, and these are a bit of fun for completionists and provide a use for items that may seem useless. But the game can't really afford to do this when there are so many items to choose from. Quite a few online reviewers disagree with me on this, because it forces you to think logically about how to solve the puzzles, instead of using trial and error. And while I see what they mean, the game just isn't logical. It lets you hop across worlds, jump through arcade machines, fight monsters, see visions of non-existent people, and this means that in some cases, with the puzzles, the logic used can be very loose or very difficult to figure out without trial and error, or a walkthrough, which annoyingly doesn't exist yet. You begin as a child, learning about his struggles and childhood through clues in the environment, audio cassettes left by your parents, and interactions with the memories that you have of your family throughout the chapter. Apart from the problems previously mentioned, the game does a good job of making you figure out his past without having to tell you every detail, providing plenty of extra content as a reward for exploring. I actually had a lot of fun exploring this house, with a fun mix of fantastical creatures and real, heartfelt emotion that does genuinely emotionally connect you to the character, if you take the time to explore. Designing the environments from the point of view of a child was a great idea, allowing for the impact on the mind of your character to be shown through changes in the environment, instead of just having to kind of guess what your character's feeling. However, at points when no changes to the environment can easily be seen, the game can leave you wondering where to go, and while this didn't happen for me too much, I imagine if you haven't played too many point-and-click puzzle games before, this would get very frustrating. To take you between chapters, you get sucked into an arcade machine, which puts you into a world resembling the world of your character's favourite game, Generic Night. The gameplay in this area is at best, but the way that the environment changes to show your character's mental state is pretty interesting, becoming more destroyed and full of enemies as you grow older and need to escape reality more. There are 4 of these sections throughout the game, and they're kind of fun to play, at the least changing up the gameplay a bit. After this section, you skip forward in time to our character's school life. There are lots of rooms to explore, several being locked off at the beginning, and actions that you take throughout the chapter allow you to unlock them. As you go on, it feels like the story is told to you by more and more vague clues, which I can appreciate, but it makes explaining it quite hard without turning into game theory. From what I can tell, he falls in love with a girl who joined the same photography club as he did, and everyone else in the school seems to bully them, so he ends up quote-unquote saving her from these people? Now, just quickly, I need to say that there's a really annoying mechanic in this game that has been in both chapters but isn't in the third one. When it turns nighttime, monsters walk around the halls, and there's no way to fight them.
Oh no, yeah.
Admittedly, in the second chapter, you can carry a hall pass to escape them once, but that still takes up a precious inventory slot, which you do not have any to spare in this game. Now, some reviewers have said this is a good idea, due to it showing he goes from having no way to deal with these monsters to slowly being able to deal with them, representing his issues, but while it might be a cool storytelling mechanic, it really isn't fleshed out enough to be a good game mechanic. For example, if I see a monster, I'd have to wait for it to move, there's no way to attack it, which would take way too long. This is one of my least favourite aspects of the game, but luckily it gradually disappears and gets less annoying as your character gets older. After another generic night stage, you move on to the final chapter. Okay, so in this chapter the game gets really depressing. By this point I was already quite attached to the character, and if you'd played through and explored like I had, then you might have been too, I don't know. And seeing him so depressed and sad is kind of a mood killer, so just a heads up, this game gets pretty sad at some points. By this point, you can see that your character isn't just playing games for fun anymore, he's doing it to escape his problems, his debt, his wife leaving him, and his past failures. This is by far the shortest part of the game, only having a couple of puzzles before our character gives up, climbing the stairs and getting ready to jump off the building. Just as he's about to fall, an enemy from Generic Night jumps out from a portal, and your character jumps in, once again able to escape his problems. This final stage of Generic Night is kind of different to all the others. It shows what the actual game looks like, and you play it from your character's point of view, seeing how this game has basically saved his life. This was probably the most satisfying part of the game, but still wasn't particularly well designed, and if you didn't explore and didn't get attached to the character, then this would be very frustrating and honestly quite boring. For a final stage, it seems little effort was put in, and while I understand there's probably a deeper message, I still think they could have made for a more interesting final stage than this, without throwing away the game's core mechanics. I guess it's supposed to show how he's conquering his life, and not trying to escape it anymore, but I don't know, I'll leave that up to MatPat. Either way though, saving your wife at the end is, if nothing else, a satisfying ending to the game. But just after, there's a tiny scene of your character waking up in real life. This was kind of a shock to the system. At the least, it provided a unique ending, but it raises way more questions than it answered. This could mean he's woken up from his past depressed life and overcome his insecurities, but that's just a theory. A game theory! True, this might be good bait for theorists, but in my opinion, if you need a team of theorists to analyse a story just to tell what the hell is going on, then I would just say it's badly told. I really don't know if that's what they intended, but honestly, as your average player, I didn't find this ending interesting at all, and I kind of think they could have tied this up a lot better. As I said earlier, I really can't recommend this game. While parts of it are quite fun, charming, and even relatable, there's a lot of confusing, illogical, and just plain weird choices that they made, which kind of ruined the game for me. I really wanted to say that this game was good, and the concept is great, but I cannot say that this game has nailed the execution. So to answer the important question, the semi-decent storyline and meh gameplay, combined with the strong atmosphere and sometimes relatable characters, are what makes this game alright. But the weird lapses in puzzle difficulty, frustrating item storage, and just plain bad storyline are what really brings this game down from the level of being awesome. Steam reviews might disagree with me, but obviously this is just my opinion and you should take it with a pinch of salt. because I have gotten pretty salty about this game. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed, make sure to hit like, let me know what you thought in the comments, and subscribe to see more stuff like this. I'm not uploading too much at the moment because I've got a lot of stuff to do, but I'm still trying to get these out fairly regularly, so stay subbed and you'll probably see more. Talking of subs, if you're not subbed, make sure to sub. How many times can I fit the word sub in a sentence? Also, make sure to check out my social stuffs on screen now and in the description. I'll see you in the next video, so see you there.